So ISO 9001-2015, clause number 4. What is clause number 4? The context of the organization. So in clause number 4, we need to just understand two words, the meaning of context and the meaning of organization. What do we need to understand under the organization and what do we need to understand under the context? And that's it. We have understood clause number 4. So clause number 4 has 4 subclauses. 4.1, understanding the organization and its context. All right, so we will understand in the coming slides what's the meaning of organization, what it really means in this standard, and what does it really mean by the context of the organization. So 4.1 is understanding the organization and its context. 4.2 is understanding the needs and expectations of the interested parties. We will see in a short while what you mean by interested parties. 4.3 is determining the scope of the quality management system. 4.4 is quality management system and its processes. So this is the actual standard language, actual clause in the ISO standard. 4.4 has further 2 clauses, 4.4.1 and 4.4.2. So let us understand each subclause in detail. So 4.1, understanding the organization and its context. Let us read the standard first of all. What does the standard say in 4.1, understanding the organization and its context? It says the organization should determine the external and internal issues that are relevant to the organization's purpose and strategic direction, okay, and affects its ability to achieve the intended results of its quality management system. The organization should also monitor and review information about these external and internal issues. Issues can include positive factors and negative factors. That means issues can be ones who can positively impact the organization, and they could also be ones who could negatively impact the organization. The organization must consider external issues arising from legal, technological, competitive, market, cultural, social, and economic environments, local, regional, national, or international. We will see this in detail in a short while. And in internal issues, we need to see the organizational values, culture, knowledge, and performance. So I'm just reading whatever is written in the standard in 4.1. So this is what is written in the standard. Now let us understand what is the meaning and what is the takeaway. So understanding the organization and its context, I told you we have to really understand only two things, organization and its context. So let us understand the organization, because this is all about 4.1. Organization and context is nothing but 4.1. So what is organization? Now in any process, there is always a start, there is always an end, and there is always something in between, which is how to reach the end. That means how do we ensure that we meet the end requirements of the process. Everything has a start, everything has an end, and everything has approach or a direction how to go from the start and the end. Similarly, in an organization, there is always an organization purpose. So this is the start. What is the purpose? What is the purpose of the organization? Is it manufacturing some product? Is it delivering some service? Is it making a sub-assembly for a end client? So what is the purpose? What is the vision? And the end is that you need to achieve the intended results of the organization's quality management system. So there is always some results you want to achieve in the organization's quality management system. For example, I want to make a product which meets a certain ABCD requirements. That is the intended results of the organization's QMS, quality management system. So what are the results that we want to achieve? And what is in between? The in between is the organization's strategic direction. That means how we will achieve these results. What do you mean by strategic direction? It means what method are you going to deploy to achieve these results? So how to reach till the end? So organization is just comprising of organizational purpose, and you will see all these words in the standards: organizational purpose, organization's strategic direction, and the intended results of the organization's quality management system, right? Start, end, and the method how to achieve or reach till the end. So this is about the organization. Now let us go to the context. The context, as in English meaning, it means the circumstances that form the setting or the basis of an event or statement or an idea. So what is context? Context is nothing but the circumstances that affect the basis of an event, that in fact form the basis of an event, because of which the event is affected, because of which the event comes into existence. So what does it really mean in the ISO standard? So organization context in that case means circumstances that lead to organizational existence. So that means what are those circumstances which affect the very existence of the organization and its functioning? So circumstances that lead to organization's existence, affect its existence, and affects its functioning. Those are called the context of the organization. Now, these circumstances can be external to the organization. Circumstances can be internal to the organization. So, external circumstances or internal circumstances. Now, in the standard, it is called issues. External issues or internal issues, which is nothing but the circumstances, which is nothing but the context. So let's see the standard again. It says determine the external and internal issues. See here it is using the word issues, which is nothing but the circumstances which affect the organization and which is nothing but the context of the organization. So determine the external and internal issues that are relevant to the organizational purpose, which is the start. We have just seen in the previous slide, organizational purpose is the start. Its strategic direction, that means how it is going to meet the end results. So we have to identify the external and internal issues that are relevant to the start, which is the organizational purpose, and the method by which it will achieve the results, strategic direction, and affects its ability to achieve the end. Intended results means end. So as I have explained in the previous slide, this is the start, this is the direction in which by which how we will achieve the end, and the intended results is the end of the process. So you need to know the external and internal issues that are relevant to the organizational purpose, strategic direction, and affect its ability to achieve the intended results of the QMS. So what are the external issues? The external issues could be legal. Wherever is your business situated, you have to obey and comply to the legal requirements. There are technological issues which could be external. So whatever technology is available, whatever technology is in the market, you can only use that technology. So it is an issue which is going to affect the organization's existence and organization functioning. Next is competitive issues. Competitive issue is again an external issue to the organization. You have to survive and you have to respect the competition. You have to take into consideration the competitive issues in the market so that you are also able to survive in the market. What are the market circumstances? How is the business? What are the buyers? How is the financial situation of the market? So market circumstances are the external issues. Then there are cultural issues that you need to respect in order to survive in the location of the business. Social issues you need to respect. They are affecting the functioning and the existence of the organization. What is the economic issues around your business is also an external issue to the organization. Environmental issues, environmental requirements could be local, could be regional, could be the country's requirement, national, or even international requirements on environment. So it's also an external issue to the organization. So these are the external issues or external circumstances, which is nothing but the context of the organization. Then in the internal issues are related to the organization values. The organization will only function within the framework of the organizational values it has to respect. The organization has to respect the culture of the organization. This is an internal issue or an internal circumstance or the internal context. The knowledge of the organization is very much important in the existence of the organization and the functioning of the organization, because the type and the level of knowledge that you have with you in the organization is definitely going to affect the end results and your capability to achieve the end results. Then performance, how your organization, how your employees, how your partners are performing is also an internal issue or internal circumstance or internal context. So what is context? Context is nothing but the circumstances which affect the organization's existence and functioning. It's nothing but the circumstances. They could be external, they could be internal. So this is what we have read. So now it will be easy for you to understand. Again, we are going back to the actual standard. Determine the external and internal issues that are relevant to the organizational's purpose, which is the start, strategic direction, the method how to achieve the end result, and internal and external issues which affects its means organizational ability to achieve the end intended results of the quality management system. Right? So you need to determine the external, internal issues that are relevant to the start, to the method of achievement, and relevant to the end results intended by the quality management system. Then the organization must monitor and review the information about these external and internal issues, which we have studied in the previous slide. Issues can be positive. We have already discussed this before. They could be supporting. Positive means they could be supporting your functioning, and they could be retarding or going against the functioning of your organization. So positive factors and negative factors. Issues can be both. We have already seen that. So external issues are legal, technological, competitive, market. This already we have seen in the previous slide. And internal issues means internal to the organization are things like values of the organization, the culture of the organization, the knowledge that you have in the organization, and the performance of the organization. So all this is about 4.1, understanding the organization and the context of the organization. Let's go to 4.2. 4.2 is understanding the needs and expectation of interested parties. So let us understand what is this interested parties. Interested parties are ones which affect the organization or can affect. They have the potential to affect the organizational's functioning, right? So interested parties are the ones that can affect, that affect or can affect on the organization's ability to consistently provide products or services that meet customer and other requirements, right? So basically interested parties are the parties which affect or can affect in future the organizational's ability to deliver as per customer and other requirements like legal, etc. So you need to first identify these interested parties, and then you need to identify what are their needs and expectations. This is clause 4.2. Now these interested parties should be relevant to the quality management system, right? Now you have an interested party which affects or can affect the organizational's ability to provide services and products as per customer requirements, but this interested party is not relevant to the quality management system. So this interested parties we are not talking about. This is not 4.2. For example, you have 4 processes in an organization, but only 3 processes are covered by the quality management system. For example, we want the ISO certification, for example, only for those 3 major processes. The 4th process, we do not want, the organization decides not to go for the ISO certification or within the scope of the ISO certification. So therefore, that 4th process is not in the quality management system. So even if you have an interested party that affects or can affect the organization's ability to perform, but it is not relevant to the quality management system because it is out of scope. It is process number 4, which is not in the QMS. Such interested parties are not covered by 4.2. So 4.2 covers interested parties, people who affect or can affect the ability of the organization to perform, and should be in the quality management system, relevant to the quality management system. Once you have identified such parties in the organization, this in the part A, the part B says then you have to determine the requirements of these interested parties. So in point number A, you have to identify such parties which affect or can affect your organization's performance, and B is what are their requirements. The organization also must monitor and review information about these interested parties and their relevant requirements. So who are the interested parties? Who interested parties could be? Interested parties could be customers. They have a set of requirements. They have a set of relevant requirements. For example, they may ask you to supply a certain product. They may ask you to provide a particular service. They may give you an order. They may stop an order. They may put some variation in the order. So definitely they are affecting your ability to perform as an organization. So they are interested party. Then suppliers could also be interested party because they can affect your organization's ability to perform. If the supplier does not give on time, for example, you cannot give on time to your customer. If the supplier does not give a good quality product, you cannot give a good quality product to your customer. So they can affect your ability, organization's ability to perform. So that is why they are an interested party. Employees are again another interested parties. If employees do not perform as per the requirement, the product and service will not meet the customer requirements. Investors, people who put money in the organization, people who have shareholding in the organization, or the business owners of the organization, they are interested parties, because they are the people who are going to provide the resources to deliver the product or services as per customer requirements. So if definitely they have the capability, depending upon how they provide you the resources for doing your job. So they definitely have an effect on the organization's ability to perform. Then community impacted or can impact the business. So what is community? For example, you have a neighbor whose noise levels are coming to your organization which are more than the required decibels. So it could hamper your working. For example, you are doing some testing, or you are doing some process in which the high sound disturbs your testing process. That means it will impact your ability to deliver the products or services as per the customer requirements. So community means people around your business. What does community mean? Community means people around your business. So people around your business can definitely impact your ability to consistently provide products and services that meet customer requirements. Just now I have given the sound example. So this is all about 4.2, understanding who can impact your organization and their expectations, and these are called interested parties. Let's go to 4.3. 4.3 is about the scope of the quality management system. What is scope? Scope means what is covered in my quality management system and what is not covered in my quality management system. So this is the language from the standard. It says the organization must determine the boundaries. That means what is covered in the QMS, quality management system, and what is not covered in the quality management system. Determine the boundaries and the applicability of the quality management system to establish its scope. So when determining the scope, what is covered in the QMS and what is not covered in the QMS, you must consider, the organization must consider the external and internal issues, which we have seen in 4.1, right? External and internal issues, nothing but the circumstances, nothing but the context of the organization. Issues mean circumstances or the context. Internal and external issues, the requirements of the relevant interested parties. We have seen that in the previous clause 4.2, and you should consider, the organization must consider the products and the services of the organization, the precise product that you are going to deliver and the precise service. You should be very clear what exactly service you are giving to the customer. So three things you have to, the organization must determine before finalizing what is in quality management system and what is out of the quality management system. External and internal issues, requirements of the relevant interested parties, and the precise product that you are going to, the sellable product that you are going to deliver to the client, and the precise service that you are going to deliver to the customer. Apply the requirements of ISO 9001 if they are applicable within the determined scope above, and the organization must maintain and make available the scope as a documented information. So this is a requirement that needs documented information stating the exact products and the exact services to be covered, right? In an organization, for example, you could be having 5 services, but only 2 are covered in the QMS, 3 are not covered. So you have to precise here what are the services that are precisely covered in the QMS that we need to deliver to the client. Now, applicability of ISO 9001 or conformity to ISO 9001 can only be determined if the requirements determined as not applicable do not affect your ability or responsibility to ensure the conformity of products and services. What does it mean? This this sentence means that just blindly you cannot say that A, B, C, D process is not covered in my quality management system. You have to justify in 4.3 that I am excluding process 1, process 2, process 3, and by this exclusion I am not affected. I am not affected in my ability or responsibility to ensure product conformance. That means if I remove 3 or 4 processes, I should not remove them just blindly. I have to give a justification that by removing these processes, my performance in terms of delivering a quality product or service to the client is not affected. Right? For example, you do not do design in your organization. You take the design from the client and produce accordingly. You are not doing the design development yourself. So you can exclude in 4.3 that design and development is not covered in my QMS. But then you have to give a justification and ensure that this exclusion from the scope of the quality management system do not affect my ability or responsibility to ensure conformance of products and services as per the customer satisfaction. Right, now we come to 4.4 quality management system and its processes. This is 4.4. So 4.4 has two further subclauses, 4.4.1 and 4.4.2. Let's see what is 4.4.1. So this is again the text from the standard. 4.4.1 says you have to establish, you have to create, and then you have to implement, and then you have to maintain, and then you have to continually improve what? The quality management system, right? Including the processes needed. So if I need 55 processes to run in the organization to deliver a particular product or a service to the client, I must establish that in the quality management system, right? These processes must be mentioned or linked in my quality management system. This is the requirement of 4.4.1. Established, implement, maintain, and continually improve the quality management system, which includes the processes, whatever number they are, that are needed, and their interactions. What is interactions? Interaction is a point where two processes talk to each other. For example, process number 1, the end result of process number 1 could be delivering a sub-assembly to the stage number 4 of process number 2, right? The end result of process number 1 could be a sub-assembly, and that could be used by the stage number 4 or process number 2. So that means at stage number 4, the process 1 and process 2 are interacting, meeting, or communicating, right? So wherever two processes are communicating, either something is coming inside or something is going outside from one process to the another, that means those two processes are interacting with each other at that point. So your QMS must contain the processes needed and their interactions at various points where they are talking to each other in accordance with the ISO requirements. So all the establishment, implementation, maintenance, and continually improvement of quality management system, including the processes needed and their interactions, is nothing but 4.4.1. So how do we do that? The organization determines the processes needed for the quality management system and their application throughout the organization. How you will, 4.4.1 says how you will determine the processes needed how you will determine the process is needed. So the design of the process will be done in the following ways. So to design a process, to determine a process, you have to first do point number A, determine the inputs required for that process, the outputs expected from that process. It's very logical. If I have to determine or design or create a process needed, I must know what should go inside and what should come out. What is B? B says you have to determine the sequence of the process. In this process, what will be A, step B, step C, step D, and so on. So I have to determine the sequence and the interaction of these processes. That means where the processes are talking to each other, where one process is giving something to the other. And then point number C, what you have to do for designing a process, you have to determine and apply the criteria and method. That means you have to determine what method are you going to deploy to monitor the performance of that process, to measure the performance of that process, and the related performance indicator, what mathematical indicator I am going to use to monitor and measure the performance of that process, right? So this will also be required in designing a process, in creating a process, in determining a process. So determine and apply the criteria and the method of monitoring the process, of measuring those processes, and the indicators that will monitor and measure the performance of the processes, right? Needed to ensure, why? Because these are needed to ensure effective operation. Effective means what is intended is achieved, is effective. Effective operation and control of these processes. Then we require determine the resources, how many people I need, how many machines I need, what is the raw material I need. So determine the resources needed for these processes and how they will be made available. So all this is required in designing a process. Then E, after I have determined the resources, then I need to assign responsibility. Who will do what? Who will be authorized for what? I have to determine the responsibilities and authorities of the above resources for these processes. Then I must address, that means determine and assess the risks of failure of these processes and the opportunities for improvement in the processes. This will also be a part of process design or process creation or process determination. Then you have to evaluate these processes and implement any changes needed to ensure that these processes achieve their intended results. Then from time to time you have to evaluate these processes by using this point number C, right? Criteria and method for monitoring and measurement. So by using point number C, you have to regularly evaluate these processes and implement the changes needed to improve the processes. And finally, you must determine how you will improve those processes, right? Before the process is created, you must determine, the organization must determine how you will improve the processes and the quality management system. So this 4.4.4 is basically on the process design, how you will design your processes, how you will create your processes, how you will determine what processes I would require. What is the procedure you are going to follow in the determination, in the design of the processes is nothing but 4.4.1. And what is the last subclause of clause number 4, 4.4.2? It is nothing but the documented information of 4.4.1. That means all the processes that you have decided to be included in the quality management system 441, all this should be subjected to documented information. That means you must have a procedure and work instruction for them, and you must fill the relevant records as per the KPIs, as per the performance indicators, to have confidence that these processes are being carried out as per planned. So you have two things in the new standard. Maintain documented information. This is nothing but the documents in the previous version. So whenever you find maintain documented information, it means basically procedures and work instructions or documents in the previous version of ISO 9001. And wherever you see retain documented information, it means records as in the previous version of ISO 9001. So for 442 is just the documented information of 441. Whatever process you have decided to be included in the quality management system, you must have procedures and work instructions for that, and you must have records for that, which gives me confidence that based on the performance indicators, these processes are performing as per planned. Right? So this is all about clause number 4. If you have any doubts, please put them in the comments below and I will immediately reply to solve your query. Thank you very much and have a nice day from Bob Cash University. This is Ajit Sharma.